Our movie begins with a boy named Jim who is getting badly beaten up by his teacher, as if it were UFC training in the classroom. But before the teacher can deliver the final blow, the school bell rings, and the teacher still says, "Too bad, I was just starting to enjoy this." Healthy, right? And Jim, not caring at all, leaves the room with his three best friends, Pedro, Mickey, and Neutron. The Fantastic Four, only the delinquent version. They smoke, pick fights, sniff thinner as if it were expensive perfume, and of course, never think twice before doing something stupid. But Jim has an ace up his sleeve. He plays basketball as if he were the teenage reincarnation of Michael Jordan. In the big game against another school, Jim shines and leads his team to victory. But while he makes basket after basket, one of his friends sneaks into the locker room and takes everything. Money, watches, anything that sparkles goes into his pocket. When they go celebrate at a restaurant, the rival team shows up demanding the stolen items. And what happens? Street fight. But guess who wins? Of course, Jim and his gang. If this were Fight Club, they'd already be on the third rule. At night, while the group enjoys the thug life, a completely wasted girl shows up offering her services for some cash to buy more drugs. Jim, full of attitude, refuses and tells her to get lost. Later, he visits Bobby, a childhood friend who was also a basketball talent, but now is fighting leukemia. Jim takes Bobby to a strip show, but the poor guy just wants to go back to the hospital. The scene is sad, and Jim feels his friend won't survive. Besides basketball, Jim has a second talent, writing. He notes everything in a diary. Yes, even experiences with prostitutes who offer him drugs. But life strikes a blow. Bobby dies. The loss shakes Jim, unlike his three friends who carry on as if nothing had happened. The pain leads Jim to a basement where he sees people using injectable drugs. He's always been afraid of needles, but he decides to try. And then, boom, rainbows, flowers, euphoria, as if he had entered Alice in Wonderland, crack version. Jim's mother, who works in a hospital, tries to help, but he snaps back, "You don't know anything." From then on, the group sinks even deeper. To pay for their addiction, they even mug old ladies in the street. Later, during the school mass, the priest sends Jim to confession, but he can't admit anything. The inner struggle is clear. Jim wants to stop, but the drug won't let him go.
The situation worsens when the basketball coach, Swifty, discovers that Jim uses drugs and, shockingly, tries to bribe the boy with money in exchange for favors. Jim explodes, rejects him, and threatens him, but still takes the cash. Classic, "I won't do it, but I'll take the money." After that comes the game. Everyone doped up except Neutron. They lose disgracefully. The priest calls the police, they find nothing in the lockers, but Jim and two friends are expelled. Neutron, the only one still with judgment, decides to stay in school. When Jim gets home, his mother tries to talk, but he yells, curses, and ends up being thrown out. At the peak of the scene, she throws his basketball trophy out the window. Right there, the symbol of his talent shatters into 1,000 pieces, just like his promising future. From then on, Jim and his partners dive head first, stealing cars, breaking into stores, and living only among other addicts. Even Pedro ends up in jail after hallucinating in the middle of a robbery, thinking he was chasing an ice cream man. Meanwhile, Neutron appears on TV being chosen for the All-American High School Games. Jim and Mickey watch, destroyed, realizing they lost their chance to live the same dream. Later, Jim meets Reggie, an old basketball friend, who rescues him from a near-fatal crisis in the snow. Reggie throws away his drugs, locks him in his house, and forces him to face withdrawal. This is one of the most interesting points. It shows how sometimes only a friend who has been through the same hell can really hold someone up. But the hunger for drugs speaks louder. Jim hits rock bottom. He begs Diane for money, is treated like a beggar, and even prostitutes himself in a public bathroom to get cash. He and Mickey still buy fake drugs, chase the dealer, but the man falls from a building and dies. The police catch Mickey, and Jim, desperate, begs his mother for money. With a broken heart, she calls the police and lets her own son be arrested, believing that only then could he change. In jail, Jim writes until he finishes his famous diary. When he is released, he refuses the drugs Pedro offers and goes to read his story to an audience that applauds him standing. That's how The Basketball Diaries was born, published when he was only 17. Interestingly, the 1995 film starring Leonardo DiCaprio was based on the real diary of Jim Carroll, who later became a poet, musician, and writer. Now, let me be honest. I would never have prostituted myself in that bathroom for drugs, no way. But I would have accepted Reggie's help right away, because he was the real hero here. And you? If you were in Jim's place, would you have the courage to tell your whole story in a diary, even knowing that the whole world could judge you afterward? Leave it in the comments, folks. For those of you who are loyal subscribers, drop a comment so I know, because I'm planning to open a membership club where you can get some perks like choosing the movies for the channel and more, and I'd love to hear your opinion. Now I'll see you in the next video.